Hello, everyone, and welcome to EduMatch Tweet and Talk number 32. Follow along with us on Google Plus at bit.ly/tweettalk32, as well as on Twitter with the hashtag EduMatch. Speaking of EduMatch, if you want to be the featured EduMatch person of the day, then please sign up at our website, edumatch.education. Also wanted to give a huge shout out to DigCit Summit UK. I'm still over here in the United Kingdom, so loved it. It was a fantastic event. Also wanted to give a shout out to EdCamp Global. They are looking for facilitators. So if you or your students would like to do a session for EdCamp Global, then please just go ahead and sign up at their website. edcampglobal.wix.com/edcamp. So tonight we are going to be talking about media releases for students. So the new rules of media releases for students. And we have a fantastic panel lined up for you. It's going to be moderated by the awesome Jennifer Casa-Todd. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to her.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Hi, I'm Jennifer Casa-Todd. I'm a literacy consultant and a lead learner for a 21C initiative in Ontario, Canada. Extremely passionate about this topic because I really think we need to engage in social media with our kids, give them authentic audiences, build their digital leadership, but we also have a moral and legal obligation to keep them safe. So tonight I'm very excited to have a conversation about this topic with you, and I'd love to, for our panelists to introduce themselves. So can we start with you, Dean?
Hi, I'm Dean Dahl. I teach 6th grade science, and this too is a passion to me because I also teach a class called Middle School Skills, and teaching students that transition skills from elementary to middle school, and in a one-to-one world they have a powerful tool and they need to use it effectively.
Thank you. Agreed, Dean. Thank you so much. Kenya, we'll move to you.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kenya, and I am a technology integration specialist. So I help teachers from grades special needs, pre-K to 12, help their students integrate technology, use it for teaching and learning. So this is very relevant with regard to what I do.
Awesome. And I know we have two other panelists, Shelly and Jamie, but they're not here currently, so maybe we'll just continue on with our first question, and at some point when they come in, we'll have them introduce themselves. So let's begin with our first question. So what measures do you take in your school, or if you work at the district level like I do, in your district, to ensure that student privacy is safeguarded? Dean, do we want to start with you?
I can't speak to what's behind the scene, but I can tell you from the classroom side that our DMTS crew, they spend a great deal of time training and doing sessions, not only formal but informal, for students and parents to know what it is that they're going to be using their technology for in school, as well as how to be safe, signing the waiver for it, and this year our school jumped all in and really is moving forward with Instagram and Twitter and moving forward, so parents know that exactly that's what's happening and could happen to their students if they're being photographed and work published and so on in the classroom.
Thank you, Dean. And I love the fact that you work with the parents as well on that. That's so important. Kenya, do you want to speak to that question?
Sure. Like you, I work at the district level, and the district has put in great parameters for student privacy and protection. The very things that Dean mentioned, waivers, and there are certain protocols that must be followed with regard to student information, student photographs, if it's posted, even if it's on a county protected site or a county endorsed site versus a teacher's own particular website. My job is to make sure teachers are aware of that information, even before we even get to posting. information with regard to even using certain websites, and making sure teachers are aware of the terms of service and the procedures of looking at those terms of service to make sure it's legal for their students to even be on those sites. So my job is to make sure teachers are aware of it, because when they're in their classrooms, I can say that I have experience being in my classroom thinking something is great and going ahead and using it and not even being aware of some of the regulations that were in place. So that's what I help do, is to make sure that they are aware first and foremost.
Thank you so much, Kenya. That's a really important point. Certainly at the district level, we are on a mission to do the same. Teachers need to know what it is they need to do in order to ensure student safety, particularly when it comes to apps and tools that perhaps have a certain age limit, like they have to be 13, for example, and if the teacher doesn't know that, they might be liable. So those are really great points. I guess now is a good time to move into a further question, and that is, what do you do when parents or guardians don't sign the release form? What are some of the steps that you take in that regard? Dean?
With the parents and families that I've worked with, I have yet to have any not sign the release, because it's part of when they sign up for Google Apps for Education. And it is interesting, like you said, all of the students that I have aren't old enough to have any social media account, but yet nearly all of them do. So it's a slippery slope. But we do have parents, probably a dozen out of 300 plus sixth graders in our school, that ask that their child not be published in any, their photos be published anywhere.
Kenya, do you find the same experience?
Yes, before this position, I was a classroom teacher, and I taught mostly first grade, so young primary students, and we use technology quite often. And the same thing, those parents I did not ever have one case where a parent refused to allow their child to use the technology, specifically because the children were so excited to use it. So even if they did have some reservations, I just don't believe that they were not able to convey that to their child or their children successfully. And so the excitement just kind of overrode their maybe reservations, and I didn't have any issues. The same thing with Dean. If anything, they did not want their children's photos posted somewhere, but that was very rare. Once they saw the parameters that I went through and that we went through to keep them safe, there were no reservations.
I think that's a really key point, Kenya, that they know that you have their child's best interest at heart. I think that's number one. We have had instances where parents were adamant that they did not want their children on social media in any way, shape, or form. And some of the ways that we circumvented that was just to ensure, again, very carefully, because you don't want the student to feel like an outcast or singled out in any way, but to make sure that the photos you're taking are of the work with no names on them, of course, or of the backs of the students' heads, or concentrating on the work, just so the student can be included, but we're not compromising their safety or security. I guess the other consideration is that social media apps change so quickly, and what happens when, like, how do we keep up? So the parent may have signed the media release form and said, we're great with Google Apps for Education and we're good with Twitter and Instagram, but then Periscope comes along. Do we re-communicate with parents? What do we do in that case? Because there's always something new and improved, or something else that a teacher might try. Dean?
I know that's come up in our district, and they've very craftfully worded it so that social media is a broad subject that covers whichever medium that the teachers and the district decide to use.
Loophole. I like it. Kenya, what about you?
I was thinking the same thing. Our release is very broad. And then again, we go back to the terms of service. There are some social media apps that have been, quote, county approved, and then there are some that have not. And The ones that have not simply just mean, it doesn't mean they're forbidden, it just means they haven't been vetted by the county. So it's the teacher's responsibility then to go ahead and do that, to vet them, because again, things could fall back on them if parents are not pleased with something that occurs. So we have the same kind of loose release, but those are, it is stressed, they are for county approved applications. And then as an application is vetted, it is then added to our online list, which is always growing.
I was going to say, and very hard to keep up. I know at our district we can't possibly keep up, so the onus really does have to come back to the teacher. I don't know about you, and this wasn't one of the questions, sorry, so you're not prepared for this question, but in Ontario there are a couple of things that we have to ensure we're not releasing, and that is a student number, any kind of identifiable information about a student, including address and whatnot, as well as the full name on a piece of work, or the student's picture unless the media release form has been signed. Is that true in the United States as well?
Yeah, that's exactly the same thing that we use. And just making sure, because our students are making their own e-folios and they ask what they can put out there, and just a sidebar on that, they say, well, should we have our picture on there? And what's really changed in the last 2 years, and it's just amazing, is most of these students already have a digital footprint, not necessarily maybe because of them, but their parents, what they put themselves out there. So had one student even say, you know, I finally had to shut my mom down. You got to show me something before you post it. And it's like, so now we have to teach students and parents.
And that's critical, isn't it? Because I know in our experience we've had someone not sign a media release form, but their kids' pictures are on their own Facebook pages. So you bring up a really good point there, and one that I think we need to continue to have conversations about. And that digital footprint, I'm really passionate about that too, because I do think that students should be online. They really should be, and showing their work and sharing things. And I know my daughter has created video tutorials. I think those are all very positive things to be online. So, you know, that too is a very interesting topic. And really, when we think about it, and I guess this is our last question, is there really any such thing as student privacy? And if that's true, if we've sort of decided really our privacy's out the window, then what are those conversations that need to be had with parents, with teachers, and with students?
I can jump in on that. I think privacy for all of us, whether we are giving it up when we sign up for any Microsoft, Google, Apple, our stuff is out there. There's just different layers of security, and our students are part of that. But beyond that, something that I've taken approach, and I'm year 2 in this, is trying to teach the students and the families to own the internet. And yes, you can put walls and barriers up there, but if someone's not using the internet correctly in the classroom, they're going to affect your experience. And if you feel comfortable enough, tap them on the shoulder and say, you know, you shouldn't be doing that. If you don't, talk to the teacher. That we all look out for each other, and I think we have to build a better safety community, a bigger safety community, which includes the students, the schools, the teachers, and the parents, that we're all on board, that we realize that they're still adolescents. They're going to make adolescent choices, but we want to keep the bumpers and the boundaries in place.
To add to that, those are very good sentiments. To add to that, even thinking younger than adolescents, I do believe and have experienced and been a part of teaching digital citizenship from an even earlier age. These children are citizens of the digital age. It is their language. And so they're going to be exposed, whether it's through education, through family, they're going to have an experience. And so it begins with awareness of knowing the responsibility that comes with the privilege of being online, just like any other privilege that they have.
Thank you, Kenya. And I really think we've touched on that big idea there, that knowledge, knowing is very, very important, that awareness is very important, and communication between all stakeholders is extremely important. So I thank you so much for pushing my thinking and allowing me to think about some of your experiences. It's too bad that Jamie and Shelly didn't join us after all. Any final thoughts? We can start with you, Dean.
I agree. I think this is a great conversation. When I saw this topic, Sarah always does a great job putting great topics out there, but this one is at the top of the list. And just the short version is that when students put things, when they submit for me, they try to complete the assignment and get it done, if you will. If they're putting it out there and maybe their parents will see it, they usually have a little bit more ownership. But when they actually publish it, they really own it, and when the audience is that big, they know the power that goes with it, and I think that's a huge motivation tool, and to keep that in mind also.
That's an important point, Dean. Just to kind of extend that, my comment and final thought is more so towards parents. In conjunction with what Dean said, when students know their peers are reviewing and seeing their work, or there is a large audience that's relevant to them, they do put more effort into it. And so there are so many avenues where they can have a taste of the online world in a protected setting. For instance, Edmodo is one of them. This is for teachers as well that want to start practicing publishing online, but it's in a protected form. There are several mediums by which media tools by which they can do it. So I just encourage those who have not begun to do it to begin investigating. Talk to someone you know that's doing it, because you can protect yourself and your students and still give them the experience that is very valuable.
Thank you so much, Kenya. It's interesting that you cite Edmodo, because here in Ontario, we've been cautioned not to put full names of students and OEN numbers of students on there because it's not protected. So that really brings home the point that every state is going to have a different regulation. Every district might as well. So we really need to be cautious. But at the same time, I totally agree that we cannot in any way say we can only be in closed environments. It is essential that our kids build some of these leadership skills online, and there are kids doing amazing things and capitalizing on the power of social media. So we can't be afraid of it. We just have to be aware, I think. And that's probably my final thought.
All right. Well, I wanted to thank everyone on the panel for such an amazing discussion. Thank you to Jennifer for moderating it. Thank you, and for coming up with the topic. I believe it was Jennifer's topic initially, so thank you very much for that. And thank you so much to Kenya and to Dean for being on panel. Thank you to Jamie and to Shelly. They were trying to connect, but there were some connection issues. And also, thank you to everyone who participated on Twitter and who was watching and who just wished us well. So hopefully everyone has a fantastic week. Just a couple of closing notes. This Twitter chat will be storified, and the podcast will be available on iTunes in a few weeks. Next week, we are going to have a topic, alternative ways to reach learners. So that's going to be a great discussion. So anyone can be a panelist. If you're an educator and you have an interest in the topic, then just please go to bit.ly/tweettalk33 and write the word panelist as a comment, and we will definitely add you to the list. So you can also subscribe to this podcast at bit.ly/edumatchpodcast. So just wanted to give one more time a shout out to EdCamp Global Classrooms, looking for student facilitators. Check out their website at edcampglobal.wix.com/edcamp, and just click on schedule and sign up there for you or your students. And Jennifer.
We have to say thank you to you because you're joining us straight from the UK, and these Tweet and Talks I think are amazing. So have a great week.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Yeah, I am still here because, as y'all know, Snowmageddon has hit the East Coast, so I'm here an extra 2 days, so I can't be mad at that at all with this wonderful culture and much better weather for the moment. So, all right, but everyone have a fantastic week, and thank you so much for joining us as always.